Okay, friends, I have been trying to make this video, but this street is so many cars that it keeps getting interrupted. So I'm being reminded this morning of the concept or system of the universe that is the time lapse from what you think to when your thoughts become reality. So 8 months ago, I bought this house, and at that point, I was like, I am not a person who can afford a completed house. I am only a person who can afford a shit rundown gutted house that will take years to renovate. And so I told everyone, I'm just going to get it to the point where we can legally move in, and then I'm going to slowly work at it over time, which at that point sounded like really cool. Versus not being able to buy something, right? Because my perspective 8 months ago was that the best possible scenario for me would be to have a house that was unfinished that I would slowly work on over time. And now, 8 months later, I'm moved into that just finished to the point of being legally able to occupy it house. And because I have changed since 8 months ago, I'm now a person who feels like I am a person who could buy a completely beautiful, finished, landscaped, exactly the way I want it house. But that conflict between what I want now and what I have now is, it's tempting to be like, what am I doing wrong? I'm manifesting wrong. My energy is wrong because I don't have what I feel I want now. But we forget about the time delay. And sure, there are people who have shorter or longer time delays, and that may have to do with your energy. So it's completely possible that tomorrow or in an hour, someone could be like, oh, by the way, we forgot you just inherited $1 million and a house that's exactly the way you want it, and it's landscaped, and you get to move in today, and movers are coming and they're going to do all of the work. That's definitely possible. But because of the time delay, and because of the fact that the universe is not just considering you, it has multiple factors that it has to take into consideration, and your timeline is influenced by other people's timelines, etc., etc., that time delay may be longer or shorter. And so if you're honest with yourself, and this is actually a DBT concept as well, that interplays with radical acceptance, that if we're honest with ourselves and we look back, even just several days, weeks, months, years, or over the course of our life or our ancestry, we can make sense of everything that's happening right now. So what's happening right now is the highest dream I had 8 months ago. It is not my highest current dream. So I'm going to pause here because my neighbor's doing, I think, some power washing. So when I get discouraged about realizing my highest dream now, or when I get discouraged about my current circumstance, I can look back and say, oh, this was my highest dream at some other such point, right? Another car. So you can actually support yourself in realizing oh, I actually got my dream. I just have a new dream now. And it's going to take a little time to get that new dream. And what you're dreaming now is not necessarily going to match up with what you're experiencing now because of that time delay. Does that make sense? So anyways, if I look back, I can be like, oh, actually, I could celebrate what I have right now because it is my dream realized. I said 8 months ago, I want to live in an unfinished house and work on it over several years. And I even said at that point, see those burps? My soul is like, yes, you did. I even said at that point, I may never be able to do any work on the house, but it will gain value over time and it'll be of benefit to my kid for me to have owned this rundown house, even if it's not able to be fixed up in my lifetime. So my dream was very low expectations, and I've surpassed those. I didn't think I was going to have a floor, and I do. I don't like the floor, but I have a floor. I thought I was going to have to do the floor, and I didn't. right? So it's like all of these things. I thought I wasn't going to have any kitchen counter or cabinets, and I do. I don't like them, but I do have them. So if you asked 8 months ago me, like, oh, how about this? I would have been like, oh my God, that's way beyond what I would have wished for. But I've grown in my desire since then, and they don't match anymore, which is the natural, like, process. It's not that I'm doing it wrong. So even if you look back to, like, my divorce, say, that was one of the hardest things for me. Before the divorce, there was a period of time when I was like, I would like to have a kid and not be married, but I didn't think that was possible. But then it became possible through the thing I didn't want it to become, you know? And like, I wanted to have freedom of independent thought and expression from my culture of origin. So then I ended up having a circumstance that led to me being rejected by that, so that I could have the freedom. You know, like, everything eventually does make sense and add up. Even if you want to get it on like a very non-woo level, like, I come from a long ancestry of a lot of addiction. And so I ended up in a relationship that was, I didn't have very good skills to have the relationship, right? That makes sense given that I was genetically and behaviorally influenced by people who didn't have strong skills around relationships. And so all of it just really adds up. And I know that's like, it's the opposite of victimy, right? It's like, okay, self-responsibility, radical acceptance, like, this does add up. And even when we get to really hard things like war and murder and racism and all of that, when you look at the history coming before it, it does add up. It doesn't mean we like it or accept it. That's important things about radical acceptance. It has the word acceptance in it, which is tricky. And I like saying radical acknowledgement, because it's like, okay, I'm not happy about it. I don't think it's a good idea. But it adds up. And that's the part that can be like, okay, I can stop fighting the like, why did this happen to me? Like, you know, why is it so hard to like own a home in this fucking country or whatever? Or like, why did this contractor cheat me? It's like, okay, this is literally what I asked for. And I got it. And I just want different things now. So you gotta like take it one at a time, you know? Okay, now I got what I wanted 8 months ago. Now I'm gonna get what I want right now. It's just gonna have a little time delay. Okay, tell me what you think about all that. Love ya.